So while thinking about the structure of the interview, think of it like a burger. So your case, fit, they form the patty of the burger. But the opening and closing part, they are the buns that hold the patty together. When preparing for interviews, candidates invest countless number of hours in sharpening their case skills, perfecting their fit answers, and why not? Fit and case forms 90% of the interview. However, most of the candidates fail to prepare for the 10% of the interview content that has a disproportionate impact on the interview results. The 10% which has a power to set the tone of the interview. The 10% which has a power to leave a mark on the interviewer. I'm talking about a powerful start and close to the interview. In order to understand why the opening and closing of the interview is so important, let's understand a typical structure of a 1 hour consulting interview. The interview has 4 parts. The interview starts off with a small talk or opening, which typically goes from 3 to 4 minutes. Although interviewers are super busy, I haven't heard any interviewer rushing into asking a fit question or a case question as soon as the candidate enters the room. It is just not possible humanly. Any good interviewer will invest 3 to 4 minutes to let the candidate settle. Then the interviewer will ask CV based questions. For example, can you walk me through this project you have listed on the CV and tell me how exactly you improve the quality of the product? Or a competency based question. For example, can you tell me an instance where you solved an ambiguous problem, etc. Now, the interviewer will give you a business problem. For example, your client is an automobile company, the client's profits are going down, and they have hired us to figure out why. And lastly, the interviewers will give you the opportunity to ask some questions to him. Everyone prepares very strongly for fit and case part of the interview. I suggest that you should also prepare consciously for the opening and closure part of the interview as well. Effective opening through small talk has a lot of advantages. First of all, it helps you settle your nerves. Secondly, it sets the tone for the interview. So you understand the interviewer's communication speed, tonality, if his nature is friendly or serious, etc. Third, it establishes social skills. Now, social skills are of very high value in consulting career. And when you do small talk, you tend to establish that. Fourthly, it builds rapport. Now, often in the small talk, you uncover a lot of overlaps. So you and the interviewer might have gone to the same school, you might be from the same native place, or you might share an ex-employer. Now, this uncovering establishes an additional bond for you in the interviewer's mind. Here are few tips to effectively prepare for a strong opening or small talk. First of all, ask proactively for interviewer's bio. I know a lot of candidates who enter the interview without knowing who is the interviewer. Guys, it's a huge disadvantage. A few days before the interview, reach out to the recruiter and please ask for the interviewer's name or bio. Second, do a thorough research on the interviewer. Now, once you know the name of the interviewer, please look him or her up on LinkedIn, on the consulting company's website, etc. and try and understand their background, their interests, etc. Thirdly, prepare for the conversation starters. Now, even before the interview, already start thinking about what would be some of the topics on which you can do small talk. And base it on your research on the interviewer's interest, his background, etc. If some of the events have recently happened in the industry in which the interviewer worked, you can bring out those topics in your small talk. The fourth point is don't try to force connect. So I know a lot of candidates who switch topics or context to force connect with the interviewers. Do not do that. If you're talking about business, don't suddenly talk about you and the interviewer being in the same school. Let it happen in a natural flow. And fifth is avoid discussing controversial topics. closing the interview with great questions to the interviewer is probably the most neglected part of the interview preparation. So many candidates, upon being asked, "Do you have any questions for me?" say, "Not really," and miss the golden opportunity to leave a great impression. Asking well thought out questions to the interviewer has a lot of advantages. First of all, it underlines your interest. Now, a sharp question can only emerge out of a candidate who has extremely good interest in that job and he has already done some secondary research. So when you ask these kind of question, in the interviewer's mind, your interest gets underlined. Secondly, it's a great resource to clarify a few things. Now, you might have done secondary research on the company or the job, but good question directly to somebody who has been there and done that can really clarify a few things for you. And thirdly, it helps you end the interview on high. After these questions, typically interviewer will end the interview and document your performance. If you ask really good questions, you will leave a very good impression in the interviewer's mind, and in turn that will result in a better documentation of your performance. Here are few tips for preparing questions for the interviews. First of all, research the company and the interviewer. Do research on the company and the interviewer thoroughly. Do talk to alumni or, if possible, current consultants. Do not ask questions whose answers might be available on the internet. It just reflects lack of your research. Thirdly, do not ask questions that will evoke negative emotions in the interviewer. So don't probe unnecessarily about why interviewer left the last company or what are the aspects of the job that interviewer hates, etc. Ask open-ended questions. Make interviewer talk. If you ask interviewer about his opinion on something, be ready with your own opinion as well. Interviewers, especially senior interviewers, have a tendency to not respond directly, but in turn ask your own opinion. For example, recently one candidate told me that to a partner interviewer, he asked a question, when would the impact of the COVID will completely go away? Instead of responding directly, the partner said, "What do you think?" So be ready with your opinion. This is quite usual. Restrict yourself to 2 questions. Respect interviewer's time. So while thinking about the structure of the interview, think of it like a burger. So your case, fit, they form the patty of the burger. But the opening and closing part, they are the buns that hold the patty together. Although you might choose a burger for its patty, but a bad quality bun can spoil the experience of having the burger, isn't it? So I highly recommend that you invest time in preparing for strong opening and closure of the interview. Happy consulting.